we can get started. So again, welcome everybody. My name is Claire Phipps. I'm the Chief Advancement and Experience Officer here at Gordon. And like many of you, this is my first year here at Gordon, and next year will be my first year as a parent here at Gordon. So I'm really straddling both groups, and I definitely see some familiar faces who, my daughter will join you all in nursery in a short few months, which is exciting. So thank you for joining us, and we're grateful for your time and your trust you've put into Gordon School. And as I said, today we're lucky to have two groups of families, those that are new to Gordon on campus this year and those that'll be new on campus next year. And as I hope that you've learned through our admissions process and through your time with us so far this year, that Gordon is not just for your children, it's for you as well. And parent engagement is a true priority here. And we want to make sure that you all understand the various structures and the different entry points and places that you can support your own learning and growth experience. And for new families, this is a preview. And for those of you that have been here, it's awesome to see y'all again and see some of you at arrival and dismissal, and look forward to seeing you more off of Zoom in the near future. And so today we have, as I shared, a number of different representatives from our different parent engagement groups, just to share a little bit about what it looks like here. And so first we have Emily Tartaglione, who is the GCA, which is the Gordon Community Association co-president, and she is our representation on the board from the GCA. She is the mother of a kindergartner and a child that will be entering in September, and I hate to say this, and the wife of an alum. So had to share that about Jason. And so really, Emily's here to share about both GCA, the Gordon Community Association, as well as something called board committees, which is another entry point for parent engagement. So without further ado, Emily.
Thank you, Claire. I'm Emily Tartaglione. I thought it would be best to just briefly describe what the GCA is. At a lot of schools, there are different opportunities and different groups that you can join or have to be asked to join. The great thing about the Gordon Community Association is just by being an adult member of the community, you are part of the GCA. And just as an active parent, active family member, you are part of the community. So with that being said, there are many different ways that you can get involved more deeply. And I think it might be easiest to actually explain how I started my volunteer sort of track and then go into maybe some of the other ways to do it. So I started as a nursery parent 3 years ago, which is crazy to believe already. I'm going to have a first grader next year. But I remember asking our current nursery grade rep when we started, how you become a grade rep, how do you get more involved? And Serena Manny was our grade rep that year. And she basically said, oh, we love to hear that. Here are some people that I can put you in touch with, the current co-chairs of the GCA at the time, who are parents, or at the time, any leadership that are looking for admissions people, Veronica, who's looking for help at open house, etc. These are the people that I can put you in touch with, or they'll reach out to you. So even just right off the bat, asking my grade rep one time, how can I help out? And Gordon loves to have you have enthusiastic, engaged parents who want to help out or share their expertise in any way. And the GCA is no different. So for me, what that looked like was I was asked to then be grade rep the following year for preschool. And then the year after that, I was asked if I wanted to be one of the co-chairs. So when you're the GCA co-chair, you typically serve for 3 years. The first year is definitely just learning the ropes, which I am still doing, and yet we're almost at the end of the year. And one of the roles of one of the co-presidents is to sit on the board as a sort of GCA representative. And how I view my role as GCA rep on the board is essentially just a conduit between what is discussed that is GCA specifically related on the board and relay pertinent information to the other GCA co-chairs in ways that will help us continue to keep the community engaged and continue to connect the community to the best of our ability. So what that looks like specifically on the GCA is the GCA itself has multiple committees because we're primarily a community engagement fundraising group, if you will. And the main fundraising events of the year are book fair, which is chaired by a GCA member or parent, carnival, which happens in the spring. Then we have the teacher appreciation lunches, which happen 3 times a year at the different seasons. And then we have photo day, and we have the grade level grade reps, which is one parent per grade that acts as the point person for clarification, communication with teachers, information, and their goal and their responsibility is really just to keep a finger on the pulse of that grade and bring any questions or concerns up through the ranks that maybe parents don't feel comfortable doing themselves. They're also responsible for organizing coffees when we can be in person again. We've had a lot of Zoom coffees this year, which have been great ways to stay connected, but we are looking forward to having possibly in-person options next year. We'll see. We can all keep our fingers crossed. And just ways to keep parents engaged, whether that's just hanging out informally in the parking lot after drop off and having a conversation, or if it's a little bit more formal and possibly doing a 7 p.m. Zoom for kindergarten parents, things like that. So that's how I got to be part of the GCA, and that's sort of the trajectory of how you can become involved in the GCA. It's really a matter of asking and showing that you are interested. Board committees are a lot of the same things. So if you are not interested in being part of the GCA, you can actually go a different route and you can ask to be a part of maybe one of the board committees or be considered to be part of one of the board committees. And then as you participate and you're part of those, so the education committee is actually something that I started on, but I'm now currently a part of the trusteeship committee. You meet once a month, give or take, with depending on the actual committee itself. And please, anyone jump in and correct me if I'm misspeaking, but once a month. This year again was via Zoom, but a lot of times it's in person on campus. And that's the time commitment for the different subcommittees or board committees. And then from there, I'm sure Claire, Lynn, or Veronica could talk more about the logistics of how you actually get to be a member of the board. But what's great is that the GCA is one way to get involved. If that's too much of a time commitment, if that's not plausible with your work schedule or whatnot, there are multiple ways that the GCA and board committees are trying to work with parents, especially nowadays, with working with your schedule on ways to get involved. I hope that explains it. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. And so how all of these groups work, and GCA and board committees and the other groups you're going to hear about, is there's a staff liaison and then there's a volunteer, I'm not sure, like a co-chair or volunteer, person that's running it as well. And so if there's ever any questions and you're kind of unclear who to go to, I am absolutely a great person that can help point you in the right direction. So thank you, Emily. It's a pleasure. I'm the liaison to the GCA, so it's a great way to really dip your toe in and hear what's going on. There's different time commitments for everything. There's, the grade reps, and then there's volunteering for one day and different things like that. So there's lots of opportunities. So next, I'm really excited to hear from Basenia, who is she's also a board member, but she is the leader of POSOC, which is Parents of Students of Color. And so as you'll start to learn with Gordon, there's lots of letters merged together to create, I guess these are acronyms. Sorry for that one. And so Basenia, you're here. And so we'd love to hear from you about POSOC.
Thank you, Claire. And thanks everybody for being here and for giving me the space to talk a little bit about Parents of Students of Color. So I am the parent of a 4th grader and a kindergartner. And I am co-chair with Angela Austin, who's also on the call, who you might have engaged with during the admissions process of POSOC. So Parents of Students of Color invites any caregiver who would identify their child as a child of color. You would, I believe, opt into receiving communications as part of the admissions process. But I think every year you have opportunity to opt in. And we meet once per month, typically the 2nd Wednesday of the month. During the pandemic, we've been meeting via Zoom, 6:30 to 8 p.m. But when not in a pandemic, we usually meet at the school over dinner, and childcare and dinner are typically provided to the children, and there's no additional cost. And we usually meet 6 to 7:30. But our gatherings are really gathered around or anchored around 4 sort of goals or pillars. So the group really seeks to be first educational, second supportive, third strategic, and fourth, and maybe most importantly during this difficult year, sort of social. And we really are sort of come as you can, take what you need. So meaning if you can make it to one meeting in the year, or you can make it to every meeting, or you can make it to something in between, we're really, really happy to have you. Some of the topics that we've talked about in the past couple of years have been this year around our young people's mental health, with all of the sort of racial violence, not to mention the global pandemic and the impact of that particular trauma and how it's impacted communities of color. We've talked about the experiences of our children of color who don't identify with the gender binary. We've talked about, we've heard from alumni of color from Gordon who have gone on to talk about their high school experiences and how Gordon sort of prepared them for their for the next steps in their journey. On the strategic end, we've been part of the school strategic process and strategic planning process from a couple of years ago. And this year, we got a chance to meet with the candidates for the assistant head of school position. One of our upcoming meetings is actually going to be purely social, so that's really exciting. But our next 2 meetings, we really invite and welcome new families in particular, and they are next Wednesday, May 12th at 6:30 via Zoom, and Saturday, June 5th from 12 to 2 p.m. And so if you've opted in to receiving mailings as a family of color, you should be in the next couple of days receiving information about that if you haven't already. And the June 5th event is actually not going to be on Zoom. We're super excited, and we'll send additional information about that on-campus mass socially distanced gathering. And that's our annual family gathering that is just really no other agenda but to enjoy ourselves and watch our children sort of play and enjoy one another and build community. So that's purely a social event. But we really hope that if you identify as a family of color in any way, that you will join us on May 12th coming up and June 5th. I don't know if Angela wants to add anything that I may have missed.
Thank you, Visinia. I mean, you've done a wonderful job and you've said it all, really. But I just really, and I will point out that actually, while you might have elected to opt in, some of you may not have opted into a postdoc mailing. However, I sent, we sent notification out to all families of parents of students of color, just because we haven't honestly affected that part of the enrollment in our system yet. That usually happens a little closer to the start of school. So I apologize if you received a mailing that you didn't want, but know that you're absolutely welcome to attend our meeting on the 12th and bring your family to the event on the June 5th. Visinia said it all, so I'll just leave it there. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Visenia and Angela, and Veronica will share those dates again. Oh, great. Thank you for posting that in the chat, Visenia, just to get those dates on your calendar. And we're always here. If you're like, I think it was sometime in May and I'm not really sure of the date, always reach out. We all got lots going on and all got, kids. So really, you can always ask once, twice, or 3 times. So thank you again. Now we're going to hear from Eli Nixon, who is, so it's the co-chair of the Anti-Racist Working Group for White Parents. It will be listed as AWGWP. So if you ever see that, that's what it stands for. And Eli, you have a 6th grader, right? Yes, perfect. I'm, getting it all there. So again, here's Eli to speak about the Anti-Racism Working Group for White Parents.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming today. I'm Eli. I use they, them pronouns. And yes, Ida is in 6th grade, my one and only Gordon kid. And for the last almost 6 years, almost, I think, we've been running the Anti-Racism Working Group for White Parents. My co-chair is Sarah Bowman, who's got 2 kids, fifth and third, maybe. I can't remember what Holden and
Second and fourth.
I see some signals around. Anyway, great crew. And feel free to ask either of us at any time any questions about it. Our group is sort of similar to POSOC in that you're welcome to come to once, to every time, to one a year, whatever you can do, we'll take you whenever you're ready. And for as long, even if you can only come for 20 minutes and you want to come check it out, it's the goal of the space is to normalize talking with other white people about race and racism, and to make a space where that feels as potentially uncomfortable as it may be for any of us who were socialized not speaking about our race or having one, knowing that we had one, having language around helping our kids talk about whiteness, any of that. So it's a space where we're coming together to share resources, share support, build solidarity, and hold each other accountable in the ongoing work that we need to all do as parents, equipping our kids to contribute to more justice in the world. And so there's also an AWGWP listserv that's quite active, and that's something that you can join even if you don't ever come to a group. If you just want to see some of the articles that get thrown around, there's different trainings or websites or a cool book or whatever. So feel free to join that. I'll put another parent in the AWGWP group. Joshua Marcus is the person who will add you to that group. And you're welcome to join there. Also, our group is geared towards and centers the experience of white people and is facilitated by white people, but anyone is welcome to come check it out. Just know that it's a space that is centering whiteness on purpose for the sake of working to deconstruct it and to help us all take it apart a little bit more. But if you're curious or you want to check it out, or you were raised with a white family, or your family is mixed race, or whatever your formation of and proximity to whiteness is, you're welcome at any point. And we have one more meeting of the year, which is May 20th. It's a Thursday, I believe. And while we've been on Zoom, we made our meeting time to 7:30 to 9 because it was hard to figure out how to get everybody fed and stuff and get home in time. So that will, back when we meet in human form again, which I imagine maybe will happen, who knows when. That also happens usually with pizza and food for the kids and childcare provided. So you bring your kids in. Hopefully our kids are building anti-racist community in their casual way as we're doing it more intentionally in the group. We do a lot of sharing questions around how do we respond to moments in the news, to racist violence, to questions that come home from school, from very particular family-oriented things to larger global and societal issues, and also work to plug each other into things that are going on that might be a reading group for little kids, or it might be something that's at the library. So it's a space to come and be like, I struggle with this question, or I have this thing, or I'm curious to learn more about whiteness and Jewishness, and there's other people who are thinking about that. So we're really trying to make it a space that meets people where they're at and listens to what they need. And any questions are welcome anytime. The group is a work in process. We have rotating facilitators, and we're always learning from what's working, what's not working, and that's informed by everybody who comes. Anybody else? Veronica is our faculty liaison. I don't know if you want to add anything, Veronica, that I've maybe forgot.
No, I would just reiterate, I love that you mentioned that people can, come once, come for 20 minutes. It's not something you sign up for and there's this expectation you're there all the time. That having been said, there are people who are there, consistently. And, while I'm the liaison for it, I think about my own learning around my own white racial identity and the conversations that I've been able to have and just things that have been opened up in terms of, again, just thinking about intersectionality and whatnot has been a real privilege of being both an employee as well as a parent in this community, and just really appreciate the ways to interact with community members in that way and to be able to talk about race. Like, just like, that's why we're there. Feels really freeing and exciting to be in a group that's all committed to being in those conversations. Eli, did you want to wrap up with anything before I get into Rainbow Family Alliance?
Just the last thing is that I know that sometimes people, because so much of the work requires a lot of like trust building and building relationships with people that you can count on. One thing that we're experimenting with that is possible either on Zoom or in real life when we get back there is we do some breakout and like more grade level or group oriented work sometimes. So and we're looking at doing that more next year. So if there's more interest and like a ton of people have fifth graders or a bunch of people have mixed race kids or a bunch of people want to think about Jewishness, those are things that we can build into the structure and make some, our group is up to respond to the people who come. So we can make those spaces happen that work for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eli. And I really think it's evident of how strong our parent community is here is both Eli and Beseni are like, we're going to meet again. We're going to, and Emily too, we're going to be in person, please. Like just figuring that out. Zoom has its limitations, as lovely it is to have you all here at 12 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon. Our parent community is really, we're ready. And us as administrators, we're ready to have you back. It's feels, a breath of fresh air to have all your voices and faces on a very much three-dimensional level. So next we're going to have Veronica Jutras, who you all have met through the admissions process. Absolutely. Speak with you about the Rainbow Alliance.
Great. Thank you, Claire. And I would just echo, it's so nice to see all of you, and I can't wait until it really is in person. So I am speaking about the Rainbow Family Alliance. I'm not currently the liaison for that, but I am a participant, and the person who runs that couldn't be here today. So the Rainbow Family Alliance it's an informal group of people who identify in the queer community in some way. So lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, intersex, you name it. And I'm laughing because Claire said at the beginning, like, we love our acronyms. And for those of you who are paying attention to the queer community, it can become alphabet soup, right? Because the minute you don't name one identity in the acronym, someone is left out. And so we went with Rainbow Family Alliance. Anybody who identifies in any way, shape, or form in terms of being queer or having that be a part of their life and experience in some way is absolutely invited to be a part of these gatherings. And usually there's 2 or 3 times a year where it's an informal social gathering. It may be a little potluck that's happening right now. It's a Zoom event. And our next meeting is going to be on May 6th from 6:30 to 7:30. And really one of the biggest takeaways for families is just this sense of community and having your own family get to see other families that look maybe more like yours, right? And so when my children were really young, it was really important for me as a parent that felt really grateful that Gordon provided a space where they could see other families that had 2 moms, right? And there was that affinity and that sense of empowerment and really recognizing themselves in the community and seeing other people who had a similar experience. So now I'm on the older end, my kids are in 3rd grade, and it's really important for me, I feel like, to be a part of that experience now in terms of being that for other families who are new to the school and making sure that they feel a real genuine sense of belonging and that other families can look like their family too. So that's a really important space for those who wish to participate, just in terms of building connection and a confidence around like who your family is and feeling proud about who your family is. And if you have any questions about that, you can absolutely reach out to me. I'm happy to talk about my own personal experience or the ways in which we try to build that sense of safety and belonging. Thanks, Claire.
Yeah, thank you so much, Veronica, and thank you for that. And now we're going to hear from Lynn Bowman. She is currently our assistant head of school, and she heads up our parent education series. Again, this is something that was normally in person and has made a very nimble pivot to Zoom. So Lynn.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everybody. It's so good to see you all here, new families, current families, my colleagues. So I just want to say a little bit about parent education. You can consider this one of your parent education forums. So congratulations, you're already here and involved in the parent education program. But I think what is really wonderful about this series, or the idea of parent education, is that you typically send your kid to a school, and it's their school and their learning. We also know that parents want to learn along with their children, and that there's also a community of learners within our parents. And some of this was kind of actually uh, started or encouraged by our parents, because particularly as our children are getting more and more nimble and experienced and confident in their language around race, around gender identity, around social emotional, around expressing their social emotional feelings and well-being, our parents were saying, hey, I need to keep up. I need some more information here on how I can really engage and support my own children in their learning, and I have learning to do myself. That the parent education series in some ways mirrors the learning of your own children, so that you can at least keep up and maybe get a little ahead. So some of the topics that we work with, and sometimes in the year there are themes. This year in particular, we were working on really exploring what it means to be an anti-racist community. What does that language mean? How does that connect to who we are at Gordon, what our kids are learning? And within that parent education series, we've got national experts and researchers that come in and talk to us, and we also have our own experts within Gordon School. In the past, we've had a whole series on health and well-being that involved social emotional learning for our kids. Lynn Lyons was a national expert on raising anxious kids and anxious parenting. We had a conversation with our director of technology and our director of health and wellness to talk about technology and health and well-being, which was a really powerful conversation. And actually, they were on a local news station to talk about that intersection, and how we were working with our kids and our students with managing technology and its impact on health and well-being, emotional health and well-being, as well as talking to our parents about that. We have had a whole series on gender identity development. Jennifer Bryan, who is a leading researcher and expert and speaker around issues of gender identity development. She's worked with our faculty. She came to also do a night with parents. Actually, she's been here twice to Gordon. There are also topics on the best literature and books out there for kids. What I am so proud of at Gordon is that while we can bring and attract national experts to come to Gordon to work with our faculty, to work with and talk with our parents. Oh, Howard Stevenson was another person who came this year from outside of Gordon. Within the Gordon community, we have incredible experts right at our fingertips. I mentioned our director of health and wellness, Carly Allard, who will teach your children health class beginning in 3rd grade all the way up to 8th grade. Marlon Henry, who is our director of technology and does all the tinkering with all the stuff I don't even know the names of in technology to keep us running, and also has built a digital literacy class for our students and goes and talks to students and to parents about digital literacy. Our beloved librarian, Frances Martindale, who you will all get to know and you'll hear stories about from your own children. Any kind of resource you need, a picture book on any kind of topic. She is also provides resource lists that accompany all of our parent engagement series, so that you can go in to our library and get that book on the shelf for you or for your children. What else did I want to talk about on my list here? I also just wanted to say too that a lot of the groups that you have heard about today, we have similar communities or experiences for children. So Basinia spoke about POSOC, parents of students of color. There is a affinity group for our kids of color called Common Ground that starts in kindergarten, where kids get an opportunity to meet. We have the GSA, the Gender Sexuality Alliance, in middle school that brings together kids who are interested in supporting and learning more about issues that impact the queer community. We have a new group this year that really was pushed by Eli. Where are you, Eli? I see you. That was pushed by Eli around really having an opportunity for kids to come together in middle school and center whiteness and talk about what that means. There's also a heritage language opportunity for our students. So just know that while we're having these kinds of conversations with you as parents, your kids are also mirroring those kinds of experiences where they're coming together to talk with kids who look like them and share their same lived experience. And there are also ways that they're coming together to talk about their own shared experience and collective experience with Gordon, whether it's around issues of friendships and peers and social emotional health and well-being, or the harder issues to talk about, like race and gender identity. So we want to just provide a space, and we'll continue to provide a space where learning can happen at all levels, and do the same for parents, faculty, and our kids. So welcome to this incredible learning community for your children, but also for yourselves. I encourage you to take advantage of it.
Great. Thank you so much, Lynn. And yes, Frances Martindale, our librarian, there are resources, as Angela chimed in, parents can have a Gordon School Library account as well, which is really exciting. And we actually had our kindergartners were in the library for the first time any students have been in the library since March of 2020. That happened yesterday. There were joyful tears. There was like giddy excitement. I can't even imagine the thrill in them. I saw it through photo. So we have some time, Veronica, thank you for popping those dates in the chat again. Does anyone have any questions? You can unmute yourself. You can chime in. Anything people would like to share and questions? There, we covered it. I think, okay, great. If questions do come up, you can always reach me, Claire Phipps, Veronica Jutras, we can put you in contact.
And how much is that?
Oh,
I can't do it today, but just so I
say one thing too.
Yeah, of course.
One of the things, well, there are lots of things that we're hating about Zoom. One thing, particularly about parent education, is we've had like tremendous participation. So that's been really exciting for us. We're learning a lot about how we can best, use that Zoom to reach a wider audience. And know that I think that those recordings of those meetings, coffees with Claire, are on the website, someplace. And so you can get a taste of what they're like on the website through our Zoom recordings. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yes. Oh, and then she gave you the password so you can get into the Commons early. So really, I want to just thank all of our presenters today. I think Veronica's trying to share.
I just want to say one more thing, Claire, if you don't mind, before you sign up.
So
what I was just going to share is one of the questions that I get a lot of from families that are new to Gordon or who have just enrolled before they and this has been obviously a very strange year, right? Like nothing's working as it generally would. And there's been so many different changes to how we connect with each other and whatnot. But you will hit your stride in terms of realizing like, oh, that's who I call to ask about this, or this is who I connect with when I have a question about health forms, or this is who I talk with when I need to pick my child up for a dentist appointment, or this is who I talk to, whatever, the list goes on and on. But for now, if ever you're wondering, like, who do I ask about that? And you like try to look at an email or you're trying to look at the website and you're spending more than like 2 minutes figuring out who do I ask? Just email the admissions office and we can play quarterback and connect you with the right person. That is a really easy lift on our end. So please, if you're ever just wondering, reach out to us and we'll get you connected with the right people. All right,
Absolutely.
that's it. Thanks,
Yeah.
Claire.
Absolutely. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your trust in Gordon School this year or next year. We're so excited to have your families here and looking forward to seeing you more in the future. And yes, we will be looking at a hybrid of in-person and Zoom. We know that there's really been some benefits of being able to do this in the middle of the afternoon and have so many folks. So again, thank you so much. This will be recorded. It'll be posted on the website. We can send out a link if there's someone you think really needs to see it. Any questions, we'll direct you to the parents. And again, thank you so much for your time. And it's a beautiful day here on campus. I can't express it enough how wonderful the kids, how excited they are. And we're excited to have them here too. So thank you all. I hope you have a great day.
Bye.